Cadillac coming to Formula One racing, got sponsor. So here's something wild. After decades of F1 being basically a European boys' club, America is about to crash the party in a big way. And I'm not talking about just another rich guy buying a team. I'm talking about General Motors, one of the biggest automakers on the planet, bringing Cadillac to Formula One as the sport's 11th team in 2026. This isn't just any old team announcement either. We're looking at the first completely new F1 entry since 2016, and honestly, the way this whole thing came together reads like a Hollywood script. From initial rejection to triumphant approval, major sponsorship deals, and some seriously interesting driver rumors. There's a lot to unpack here. Let me take you back to where this all started. You might remember the Andretti name being thrown around in F1 circles for the past couple of years. Michael Andretti, son of 1978 F1 world champion Mario Andretti, had been pushing hard to get an American team on the grid. The problem? F1 basically told him thanks but no thanks back in January 2024. The sport wasn't convinced that adding an 11th team would bring enough value, and there were concerns about diluting the prize money for existing teams. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of walking away, the project evolved. General Motors stepped up their commitment in a massive way. And suddenly we weren't just talking about another customer team buying engines from someone else. We were talking about a full works operation with GM developing their own Formula One power unit by the end of the decade. The announcement came during Miami Grand Prix weekend, which honestly couldn't have been more perfect timing. Picture this, a glitzy launch event on Miami Beach, all the key players together for the first time in that distinctly American vibe that's about to shake up the paddock. Dan Taurus, who's the CEO of TWG Motorsports and basically the guy making this whole thing happen, was there alongside team principal Graham Loudon, who you might remember from his days with the Marussia team. And here's something cool. Mario Andretti isn't just fading into the background. The racing legend is staying on as an advisor, which means the Andretti name is still very much part of this story, just in a different capacity. Now let's talk about what makes this team different from day one. They're not messing around with the infrastructure. We're talking about facilities spread across 4 locations: Fishers, Indiana, Charlotte, North Carolina, Warren, Michigan, and Silverstone, England. They've already got over 200 people working on everything from aerodynamics to software development. This isn't some startup operation throwing together a car in someone's garage. The engine situation is particularly clever. While GM is developing their own power unit, they know they can't just show up in 2026 with a completely untested engine and expect to be competitive. So they've struck a deal with Ferrari to supply engines and gearboxes for their first few seasons. It's the same approach that's worked for other manufacturers. Start with proven technology while developing your own. Russ O'Bleans, who's heading up the power unit development as CEO of TWG GM Performance Power Units, recently said they're planning to fire up their first V6 engine in the near future. By 2029, Cadillac plans to be a full works team with their own power unit, joining Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and potentially others in the exclusive club of engine manufacturers. But here's what everyone really wants to know. Who's going to drive these cars? The team has been pretty clear about their philosophy. Taurus put it perfectly when he said they want to make sure they do this the right way. It won't be a process of just grabbing an American and sticking him behind the wheel. They want to set their drivers up for success. That said, having at least one American driver is absolutely an objective. Mario Andretti was crystal clear about this, saying it's what started this whole program in the first place. They want to begin with one American and one very experienced driver regardless of nationality. So who are the candidates? Well, the experienced driver pool just got a lot more interesting. Sergio Perez, who was shown the door at Red Bull despite winning races for them, is suddenly available. He's got the experience, he's won races, and he knows what it takes to perform at the highest level. But the name that keeps coming up is Valtteri Bottas. The Finnish driver who won 10 Grand Prix during his career and spent years as Lewis Hamilton's teammate at Mercedes is currently without a race seat after Sauber decided to go in a different direction. And here's the thing, Bottas isn't ready to hang up his helmet. In a recent podcast appearance, Bottas was honest about his situation. He said he's sitting there without a race seat, not because of his own choice, and he definitely still feels like he's not done with F1 yet. He believes he still has more to give, and watching from the sidelines has only made that feeling stronger. What's really interesting is how Bottas talks about the Cadillac project. He sees it as very interesting because it's something completely new to F1. An American team with maybe a different view of the sport. As a driver, he'd be able to start from scratch and actually influence the direction the team goes, which he finds very motivating and potentially rewarding when success comes. The timing works out well too. Bottas knows his timeline. He wants to know about next year by August, which gives Cadillac plenty of time to make their decision. And with the rule changes coming in 2026, it's actually a perfect time to jump in because you never know if you might get it right from the get-go. On the American side, all eyes are on Colton Herta. The 24-year-old IndyCar driver currently races for the Andretti team and has won 9 races in the series. He's got experience in lower Formula Series and knows the tracks. More importantly, he's been linked to Formula One for years, and an American team gives him the perfect opportunity to make that jump. But let's be honest, having the right drivers is only part of the equation. In modern F1, commercial partnerships are absolutely crucial, and this is where Cadillac just made a statement that nobody saw coming. Tommy Hilfiger is back in Formula One, and they are not just dipping their toes in the water. They've signed on as Cadillac's official apparel partner in what's being described as a multi-year agreement. This isn't just about supplying team polo shirts either. We're talking about full logo placement on the cars, driver suits, helmets, and comprehensive fanwear collections hitting stores globally starting in March 2026. Now, if you're wondering why this is such a big deal, let me give you some context. Tommy Hilfiger isn't new to Formula One. They've been involved since the early 1990s, starting with Lotus, then moving to Ferrari, and most recently spending 7 years with Mercedes, until that partnership ended, when Mercedes switched to Adidas at the start of 2025. During their time with Mercedes, Tommy Hilfiger didn't just supply clothing, they made Lewis Hamilton a global brand ambassador. Hamilton created 5 different collections during their 6-year partnership, and honestly, it helped shift the spotlight beyond just the track. Hamilton became a style icon, sitting front row at fashion weeks and inspiring other drivers to up their style game. Tommy Hilfiger himself, the founder and principal designer, has always had a connection to motorsport that goes way back. He grew up near the Watkins Glen circuit in New York, and his passion for racing has been part of his design inspiration from the very beginning. He talks about how he was at a race where the John Player special team won, and afterward, they managed to get some gear from the drivers and pit crew. That authentic racing aesthetic, the embroideries, patches, and details, became part of his early collections. What makes this partnership so perfect is that we're talking about 2 iconic American brands coming together. Hilfiger put it best when he said these 2 brands have a colorful history in visual culture, and the combination is going to look incredible across their collections. But this goes beyond just looking good. There's actually a performance philosophy at play here. Graham Loudon, the team principal, makes a really interesting point about the connection between feeling good and performing well. He says there's an advantage to feeling good, whether you're wearing Tommy Hilfiger or driving a Cadillac. Formula One is a massive team sport involving around 1,000 people, and they want everyone, mechanics, engineers, designers, working at the top of their game and feeling good and focused. The technical side is fascinating too. We're not just talking about regular clothing here. Tommy Hilfiger is incorporating advanced technical fabrics with breathability, waterproofing, stretch, and even reflective properties. It's authentic racing-inspired gear that actually performs like racing uniforms. The timing for this partnership couldn't be better either. Formula One is having this incredible cultural moment right now. The Netflix series Drive to Survive opened the sport up to completely new audiences. The upcoming F1 Academy series focusing on developing female drivers is taking it to another level. And then there's the Brad Pitt F1 movie coming out, which Hilfiger describes as taking the sport's popularity to the stratosphere. The 2026 Formula One season is shaping up to be one of the most interesting in years, and Cadillac's entry is a big reason why.